another edition of Cohasset Common. I'm Cohasset Town Manager Chris Sr., and on this week's episode, we'll have some time with Kevin McCarthy, the Board of Selectmen Chair, covering lots of topics of interest to all of us here in Cohasset. We'll have some time with Pat Sullivan, Cohasset Superintendent, talking about all the great things that are going on with the schools and all the challenges they've been able to overcome. And we'll have some words from Larry Corthell, the President of the Chamber of Commerce, and much more, just ahead here on Cohasset Common. We're happy today on Cohasset Common to have Kevin McCarthy, the Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, with us. We're actually here in the lobby of Wilkin Commons, which is incredibly inviting. We're socially distant, and the place is empty, except for the crew that was just here preparing Meals on Wheels. So it's great. So the center, even though the public can't be in here, it's still a vibrant center. It's actually being used every single day to help support our senior community. So welcome, Kevin.
Great. Thank you very much, Chris. Glad to be here. Good to see you all.
So the town has really gone through a transition, obviously, during all of this. But all the boards and committees are up and running, and the selectmen have been hard at work.
Yes, I tell you, it's really been quite remarkable. We've made technological investments, as you're aware, in the last 2 or 3 years on computerization, on internet connection between our buildings and so forth. And when we were making those investments, it was, well, someday in the future it may be necessary, and kaboom, all of a sudden, all of those investments have begun to pay off big time because the equipment and the infrastructure was here, as well as a number of training, a lot of training, to allow the Board of Selectmen and other committees to get up and communicate through Zoom and other type meetings through the internet and carry on the business of government very well. So a number of more and more committees are coming online, and the major committees that we need for the business of the warrant are online and they're meeting, and so it's worked out very good. So we're in good shape, much better shape than a lot of other communities apparently.
It's definitely been a transition, but again, people have really taken to it. We've done some training really to get everybody on the platform, but most folks are tech savvy to one extent or another anyway. But we've worked really hard with folks who are not, and we had an advisory committee meeting the other night, for example, and folks who are not quite as tech savvy have been up. They've been up on the computer. They're on the screens. It's actually worked really well. In some ways, first you can't beat face to face, but we've been able to share and really kind of make the platforms work. On this past Tuesday, I know you were able to get a lot of public comments for the first time.
Yes, we innovated and improved even on the last meeting. We did it as a webinar, and so it was very fairly easy to do. People came on, they were in sort of a waiting room, they could pose their questions. As the host, I could see that a question was being posed. I just pressed a button, I could see what it was, and I could read the name, the individual, and their address, and their question. We had several excellent questions. It worked right in seamlessly, and we had more participation than we usually do at meetings. So we're really learning a lot and seeing a lot about the future with this.
One of the things that we're going to encourage this kind of public participation throughout this cycle, and we're going to hopefully put out, as part of next week's meeting, kind of a user guide. So for folks who want to understand how to participate, like a how-to, and also etiquette too. Please be respectful. Again, we're using that question and answer function, which makes it a lot easier. So it's great that it's worked.
I've been very impressed, and like you said earlier about how much this has been embraced readily by the community. There's a number of tech-savvy people, but even people who are not tech-savvy appearing surprisingly interested in learning about this and wanting to get online and be part of all this. So our communication, which is really essential during a crisis like this, is working very well, and that's been very healthy for the community.
So one of the things that Selectmen talked about this last meeting and formally set the date is for annual town meeting. So it was supposed to be happening actually literally we're filming on May 1 here today. It would have happened next Monday. So obviously everything's been pushed back. So the new date is June 16th, and we're now in the process of getting that warrant together and getting it all prepared. Advisory, capital, school committee, everyone who has to participate in this work is happening. And we're going to see how that all comes together. Hopefully we can work on the 16th. We'll see how it goes.
If we needed to, I'm sure it will work on the 16th. One of the good things about the way we operate as a community is our committees are very active and really essentially put the budget together and resolve a number of the issues and so forth with budgetary and warrant and article matters. And that was pretty well in progress before this episode struck us. So because of a good amount of progress that had already been made, I'm very optimistic all of these warrant items that we want to can be addressed, particularly the major ones, which we probably will do. We're going to trim back some of the items that we believe can probably wait to the fall, just to be safe, to make sure that when we do get together for a town meeting, that we're, public health being the #1 concern, we cover really the bare essentials and maybe a few more at the meeting, but then we'll save a number of other items for the fall, which is the safer, better, wiser way to do things, I think.
No, that's clearly where we're heading now. Is I know the planning board's already agreed to shift a number of most of the zoning articles that they had been considering, none of which were terribly controversial, but all of which would have taken time, to the fall, because there's nothing that's super critical that has to be done. So that's one of those key aspects of keeping the meeting as succinct as possible.
Right. As the public may generally know or not know, that one of the critical things we do at the annual meeting is, and we have to by constitutional law, is pass a budget. The budget has to be passed at an annual meeting, part of our grassroots democracy that goes back 300 years, and which is a good thing. But we have to have an annual meeting. A budget has to be passed in order to be able to operate the community. Now, special legislation has been passed so that in case we weren't able to, because of this ongoing crisis, we can still function and pay things as a government. So that's been covered anyways, but still one of the main things we want to get behind us is passing our budget, which again, we've made a lot of good progress on the budget.
So that's one of the things we'll talk about just a little here. So clearly, there's going to be some declines in revenue, and we've been talking about that. So the finance team has been meeting 3 times a week for the last few weeks to go over where we stand. The good news is that as a AAA community, we're in pretty good financial shape to begin with. And in addition, the philosophy that the board has set and that we're working towards is to keep things as stable as possible and to plan for a long-term event here. We're hoping that things will get back to normal as soon as possible. We can't guarantee how the economy is going to react, so we really have to be prepared to marshal our resources and to use them as smoothly as possible. So we don't want to take draconian action now, because we really don't know what's going to happen in 6 months. So the goal is, and the budget that we're working on is going to tap a couple of things that, or at least the proposal is to tap some of the things that we have in our back pockets. The main reserve fund's not going to be touched. We have over $4 million sitting there, and that's for a tsunami. Right now, it's definitely raining, literally outside, but also figuratively. So the advisory committee was discussing that in their meeting the other night. So I think everyone is kind of looking to buy some time to see where we are, to keep our services stable, keep our staff stable, and to keep the community safe and stable at this point. We'll see where things work out.
One of the great things that we have done as a community over the last several years, and we've been blessed with some really smart, dedicated citizens, as well as our town government, that have been very fiscally prudent and are very good at developing budgets and watching ourselves, our town fiscally, and to make sure that we make wise decisions. And that really has paid off big time for us. Again, the way we have conducted ourselves in the past number of years. The AAA rating has been huge. Only 15 or so communities out of 350 have a AAA rating. So we're very strong financially. We have plenty of money in the reserves, which we don't anticipate having to use right now, but that really enables us to handle a crisis like this. And again, we're much better off than a number of other communities have been. One of the things I think, Chris, you just said that I think is very important, though, particularly because we are fairly strong fiscally, we don't need to make dramatic changes. We want to keep our government focused and functioning and whole as we rationally and calmly move ourselves through this. Fortunately, our present budget for this year looks like it's in fairly good shape. There's not going to be a big impact on this. And even next year, without getting into the numbers unless you want them, the numbers that we're looking at that we're going to have to trim or be careful with or cut back on even next year are really much smaller than others thought it would be. Again, it's a tribute to how prudent we've been in our budgeting, how strong we are financially, And then also because our tax base is 90% or so residential, we usually bemoan that is because I pay it and others do too. But it's a fairly strong, stable anchor in a time like this. The state, for example, most of their budgetary budget comes from sales taxes, of which there are very little, and income taxes, which with a lot of the economy unemployed is being adversely affected. So we're fiscally stronger because of the way we're from a structural point of view than even the state, a community like ourselves. And again, we've been around for 350 years, and that's one of the reasons we have gone through these kinds of things and worse, and why we will survive this in spades, I'm very sure. We just need to work together and go through all of this, which we're doing a really good job of it to this point.
So obviously there'll be a lot more conversations between now and the rest of May as we finalize the warrant, and then we'll head towards the June 16th meeting.
We'll return to our interview after these words from Chamber of Commerce President Larry Corthell.
Thank you, Chris. So in Cohasset Village, we have many of the businesses still open. The restaurants are all doing curbside pickup and takeout. On the Cohasset Chamber website, we have a listing under COVID-19 of all the businesses that are still open, the hours that they're open, and what services they're providing. You can also check the particular business's Facebook page, Instagram, or their website. So we're still up and running. I've still got the bank open here at Hingham Savings, the lobby's open, and it feels rather normal at this point, so we're still operating.
So there's a lot of other things. You talk about the town's history. One of the biggest events that historically happens in May is Memorial Day. The town has a rich tradition of service. There's been a lot of sacrifice in this community for a community of this size over the generations. And Memorial Day has always been a special time here in Cohasset. One of the challenges, we can't get together as we normally did. We can't gather in groups and with the parade, and we can't get together for the big ceremony at the Veterans Park on the waterfront. But there are things we're looking to do.
Yes, Memorial Day is our Christmas, New Year's Eve, and 4th of July all wrapped in one. Memorial Day is the distinct characteristic function activity for the town each year. However, public health does always have to take precedence here. We don't want to do things that are unwise in a healthy point of view, but we have a deep history of military service and dedication, very deep. Our sacrifices in Cohasset has always been much more. We punch way above our population weight. And our voluntary service in times of war or peace has always been very strong. So it's a special holiday, and therefore we are going to lay out plans whereby at least we can do the memorial field, the veterans field, in some safe, proper way, which should be supervised by the Board of Health, where we will have some flags, and we will have and we're also laying plans for a virtual ceremony of some kind. So we'll do something that's very appropriate and very good and healthy for the town that we need to do, and I'm glad to see us doing that.
No, our Veterans Service Officer, Phil Mahoney, has taken the lead. He's worked with all the veterans organizations, and we should have some more concrete plans coming up. But the goal is to include the community as much as possible. And again, even if we're all watching on TV at home, there'll be a lot of opportunity to bring people together and to celebrate and to remember. So.
We're a small community, but we're a tight community. We all, about 8,000 people, we all mostly all know each other. So we'll be blessed by the fact that we can be together through the internet, through media, and we are together. We always are together.
Now, one of the great things about being a small community is that we've been able to support each other in the building that we're in here in Wilkin Commons. This has been the hub for so many activities, and even though it's at the moment physically silent, there's a lot going on. As I was saying a little earlier, we had a group in here preparing Meals on Wheels, bringing hot food, which is something we historically never did, but we're doing now. They were doing chicken pot pies today, as a matter of fact.
Good.
I know
Came too late, obviously.
I know, they look really good. So we're doing a lot of support still with the community with that, a lot of reach out so that people are socially connected still. That said, there's still most certainly challenges, and it's been interesting to see that while we have our supermarkets are critical and our pharmacies are critical, liquor stores are also being considered critical establishments, and they're open. And one of the challenges, of course, is that people are more stressed and that kids are home. College students and high school students and Now, you're also on the board of Safe Harbor, so I know there's been a lot of concern and a lot of questioning about how do we support people in this time with these kinds of challenges.
Yes, Safe Harbor is, as we know, does great service to this community through the students and through the issues of addiction and doing education and so forth. So we did have a meeting yesterday, and I will have to say that the statistics are serious, and not to use a pun, but sobering, and that alcohol, and they do studies, and then they have a hands-on feel, and there is a definite and distinct increase in liquor use and abuse, and also people drinking publicly and at various locations, so it's creating a problem. Liquor use is up, drug use is up, and they have ways of keeping an eye on this, and so domestic violence is something we always have to watch for. Unfortunately, in a time like this, people are cramped together. Mental health issues generally that the Safe Harbor keeps an eye on are on the increase. So we're going to have a session, I believe, at a Board of Selectmen meeting to bring more attention to this, but they're also out on social media and itself, but the community needs to be, very alert and sensitive to this. One of the things that one of the major people in town that work with others said that one of his observations is this denial in Cohasset, that people, we're all human beings, and we all have circumstances, and we shouldn't try to be in denial. It's easy to, but don't be afraid to reach out to Safe Harbor if you have a problem in your home or with yourself, and we all have lives, okay? So don't be ashamed to do that. This is what the community is close for and together for. You can reach out to the Board of Health, you can reach out to Safe Harbor, you can reach out to your local clergy and so forth. But you definitely need to feel that you're welcome to reach out. We're all in the same boat. We're all feeling stressed. So I do want to emphasize that. We're here together to help each other, so don't be shy about that. And we're going to have Safe Harbor at a Board of Selectmen meeting so that we can see what more we can do on that. But it's an issue. Let's face it, as we always do in Cohasset. Let's address it, and we'll be fine. We're gonna come through this stronger mentally, health-wise, as well as other ways too. That's just the way it is. But the help is there for you. We all feel the same things. Communicate, talk to people. This government is here to help you, and we hope you utilize that and feel more comfortable about those things.
So I think we're going to share some of those links now on the screen with folks. There's
Good.
a lot of things that are out there. And one of the things that I don't think everyone knows about is the state 24-hour hotline. It's 211. You dial 211, and there are links right there to help you navigate and to plug into services you might need, whether it's concerns about, again, mental health or addiction. It's a 24-hour service. It's there. Even if you have questions about the virus and all, too. The state is running it. It's being run 24 hours a day. So 211 is another resource. And again, we're showing other resources, Safe Harbor, there's other organizations that are out there. Here's some links up on the screen that you can look at, and some phone numbers to reach out to. We're also doing something on Wednesdays, we're calling them Resiliency Wednesdays, and we're sharing some resiliency videos
Great.
and some other links to the community in our one of our weekly updates. So really important things to highlight. On that topic, the police, and now that restaurants are able to sell beer and wine off premises, which they normally couldn't do as long as you buy a meal. We're working with the police and the Board of Health to kind of make sure they're checking IDs, to make sure that when they're doing curbside deliveries that they're checking IDs. We understand that the Curtis and our other stores are doing that. That said, the police are going to be going around and just ensuring that we're checking IDs, so that someone can't claim they're ordering for their parents, go pick up a case, and then go off and have a party.
Well, unfortunately, that was one of the issues that came up yesterday at Safe Harbor, and they're well aware that IDs do need to be checked. They're not being checked, and as a result, there are underage people buying liquor, and they're behind a scarf or a mask. They're not being asked. So I think that's good, Chris. That's something that our enforcement people should do. And no better enforcement, though, than we, within our families, within our neighborhood. See something, say something, and help out in that way, too. But that's a good point.
So it's definitely, we're coming into warmer weather, and one of the challenges is that people are going to want to get outside more. We've been able to keep our facilities open as much as we can. The beach is only in the mornings until the early afternoon at this point, because one of the concerns we were having, and I think we're going to continue to have, are people want to hang out like it's a regular day. And I think we've all seen pictures of some states that have, released restrictions. And the last thing that we want to do is start creating vectors at some of our most popular locations. So we do want to encourage people to get out, take a walk in Wampatuck, walk on the streets, wear masks when you're out in public and you're interacting with other people. If you're walking the dog, it's okay, unless you're, in a close proximity to others. But please, we're encouraging people, wear your masks if you're out there at the stores. There's big signs up now. There's big signs up at some of our restaurants too, to remind people, put your mask on. It's not just for you, it's to protect other people too, if you're going to be out there with other people. At the same time, I think it's really important that people remember when you're out there in public and it's getting warmer, please be respectful. Please remember that the social distancing is to keep us all safe.
Definitely. And Sandy Beach, for example, we want to keep open at least in the mornings, which we are. So we ask that you really do the safe distancing, and especially when it starts to get really warm and tempting. Some communities in some states are closing down their beaches completely because people don't follow those social distancing. We don't want to do that in Cohasset. We want to have the beaches and open areas open. So I reinforce what you're saying, Chris. That's good.
We will be right back with our interview with Kevin McCarthy after this Zoom message from School Superintendent Dr. Pat Sullivan.
Could you highlight some of the success that the Cohasset High School faculty and just has been having during this time? Like how they've been handling it and the things they've been succeeding with?
Well, yeah, I'm tremendously impressed and thankful for all of the faculties, right from Osgood, Deer Hill, the middle school and the high school. They've done an amazing job. Folks have to remember that we didn't have any of this in place. We didn't have a plan, nor did any of the public schools really in Massachusetts have a plan in place for remote learning. We had remote learning elements that we could put in, but not in this scope. So to adjust on turn on a dime, to create plans, to be able to receive professional development, and to move forward and adjust plans as we've needed to do as well as the advice and guidance from the state has become more intense, has been a unique experience. And what I'm very proud of is that we've kept social emotional learning, wellness first and foremost in all our plans, that we've always looked out for the students and families that are going through this, knowing that this is a health crisis first and foremost, and that everything we do approaches it in that way. So I'm very proud of them for that. I'm very proud of the optimism that they've kept, their constant communication with families, their ability to really rise above some tough circumstances and keep that personal connection going. The faculty has been tremendously inspirational throughout this.
How has this whole thing affected credit, and is there a plan to make up for lost time, or how is that working?
Well, you can't make up for the loss of that face-to-face interaction in person. Our teachers provide so much for the kids, and vice versa. Really, our staff misses the kids, we miss that connection with them. But as far as credit goes, I know that as Principal Scott and his team, because credit really only applies at the high school level, that he has, and the commissioner has made those decisions very much local decisions. We're fortunate in that our schedule in the high school offers some full year courses that are usually full year in other districts in a semester format, which means that we go more days a week for longer periods of time during one semester to create what a lot of school districts would have in a year. With that in mind, with our semester model, we've created a scenario where students are finished with a lot of their courses for the year, and we're at least 70% through some of their courses that were in the second kind of half of the year. So we're in a fortunate position with that. And I love the approach that Principal Scott has taken, and that he's really looking at it as we're looking at it all the way across the board, that we're realizing that it's very difficult to penalize students. We don't like to penalize students, but for it to impact students' progression when this scenario has so many layers to it. And that we're really looking to provide incentives for students if they did work to add to a grade, to increase a grade. And that if students couldn't do the work for a variety of reasons, that they'd have the opportunity at the high school to make up a course or to take a course for credit as opposed to a grade. And our effect on GPA has kind of followed that mode. So we're really trying to, just as we were in our remote learning plan, let our grading be guided by the situation we're in. And that we realize that people who would want to do work are just not able to do it. Students are not able to do it at this point. But then students who did really appreciate the approach, I appreciate the thought and the time. And for those folks who receive Principal Scott's newsletter, he has, or follow me on Twitter, we've put that out there. He did a really nice video explanation of the grading process. So I would encourage you to look at that. It walks through the whole step, all the steps in all the scenarios of grading.
So anything else you want to add about what we're doing, or how we're doing, or how you're coping with everything?
No, we're doing fine. My wife and I are hunkered down and following our quarantine, and we've also learned more about the technology of Zooming. I thought I was fairly adept, but I'm learning more, and we're talking with our family members on Zoom. We've set up regular times twice a week with family members that aren't with us to talk on Zoom, and so we're making it through in a good and fine. It's a tough time for Cohasset, but I'm proud of the way we have come together as a community, as a government. We actually, I think, are doing very, very, very well. Let's just keep doing very, very well, and we'll get through this fine.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate your time today, and thank all of you for staying safe, wearing your masks out in public, and keeping Cohasset a great place. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this week on Cohasset Common, and special thanks to Board of Selectmen Chairman Kevin McCarthy, Superintendent Pat Sullivan, and Larry Corthell from the Chamber of Commerce. For all of us here at 143 TV and here in the town of Cohasset, including Casey sitting here by the fire with me, thanks for watching. See you next time.